Hey guys, it is Monday. It was a beautiful weekend. I hope everybody got outside. I got outside a lot, went for a 5.5 mile walk on Saturday and then about 4 miles yesterday. And it was just a lovely day. And then we had dinner with my kids last night. All my kids, not just my little guy, but my older ones as well. And it was a lovely weekend. So I hope you had a good time. We are back with episode 43 of Small Business Connections, and I am thrilled to be here. I am loving this. It was funny last night. I had my kids over and said something about the podcast and said, you should subscribe to my podcast because, I need subscribers over there. And my son said to me, you have a podcast? So I'm like, gosh, I really haven't told my children much of anything about this. So it's exciting for me. I want to remind you, we're live today on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So if you're on YouTube, please consider subscribing. If you're not on YouTube, consider going over there and subscribing. Also, I want to remind you, since we are live, you can leave comments down below and we will see them come up. Sometimes we won't know who you are, so maybe put your name and your business in the comment as well so we can see who you are and pull you up on the screen. And finally, I'm Ann Brennan with ASMM Digital Marketing, and we own ASMMcampus.com as well. So if you are listening to us and think, gosh, I really want to know more, I want to learn more about digital marketing, you can go to ASMMdigitalcampus.com and you can take courses over there. Some of them are free, some of them are paid. There's a subscription for free, there's a subscription for paid, so it's pretty easy to do. But I want to introduce you to our guest today. We have Nathan Bourne and Cheryl Cage from MyCore. Hi guys.
How you doing?
Good.
Hello.
So I'm going to start this really personally because you said something about your birth coughs, Nathan. How old is your baby?
Oh, I have three, actually. Three
Okay.
children, 7, 5, and now 2. So I guess they're not technically burp coughs. They're blankies.
Okay, awesome.
They're so
Awesome.
fast, you forget which one it
It
is.
happens very, very fast. It really does. All right. So thank you guys for joining me. I was excited. I talked to Cheryl a couple of weeks ago. You're definitely the most enthusiastic person about your company, especially for a company you don't own, right? You work here. So that says a lot about Nathan and what he's built. So I was excited about bringing you guys on. Nathan, can you tell me a little bit more about what MyCore is? Because it's a lot different than anything else out there.
Totally. Yeah, it's something special, I believe, especially in this time. And I like to kind of share first our mission, our crusade, and that is to be the world's most employee-centric company. So that's really the North Star that we're headed toward. And through that lens, we provide a subscription. The subscription is an all-in subscription. So it's all in the same technology, in the same dashboard. It's also an all-in experience of personnel. So our dedicated team pulls together some really important parts of a business. First and foremost, that being the payroll. So to be able to make sure that the payroll is working smoothly, that it's paperless, that it's in the palm of the employee and the employer's hand. And then that parlays into benefits. So putting together an attractive employee benefits package, as well as HR. So that first subscription is payroll, benefits, HR. And then there's the capability to bring in the 401k as part of those employee benefits. And then beyond that, we provide a subscription for bookkeeping, accounting, and taxes. So those are some pretty core fundamental parts of a business. The other part that I'm kind of proud of and I think is unique about MyCore is who we focus on. So our clients are 1 to 100 employees, local businesses, and local nonprofits. So we believe that those businesses, those organizations are the backbone and lifeblood of our country. They're particularly important right now in the world that we're living in. And we say it right on our website that MyCore was built for Main Street, not Wall Street.
I love that. Actually, we had on, I don't know if you guys, I know Cheryl probably watched it. I had Patrick Lee on a couple of weeks ago.
He's a friend of mine.
Oh, okay. So it makes total sense what you just said. I'm like, oh, Patrick would love that. So I'm glad to hear it. So Cheryl sent me over a list of talking points, and she said, we absolutely have to talk about vision and mission. Cheryl, you want to tell me why that was something that you're like, that's where we're going to start?
Well, I think that that's the start of any business, right? You have to have a vision or some place that you want to see the world years down the road, whether you're there to experience or not, just a dream you have. And then the mission is what your part is going to be to get your business to there. Nathan and the high ups in our company really spent days figuring this out. And I'll throw it to Nate to share it because I just love hearing him talk about how he got to the vision and mission of MyCore, something I believe in.
Totally.
All right, Nathan.
Cheryl, for teeing that up, because it is an important distinction. I think often they seem synonymous. You hear them thrown out. What's your vision? What's your mission? And even, you can have a vision for that year. You can have a vision for a certain direction that the company is going in that's more strategic. But when you really look at a vision as something that you're looking to hardwire into your business and into your life, we distinguish it this way, and hopefully it adds value to your thinking, those that are listening. But it certainly helped me when I heard it this way, that as Cheryl said, your vision is that which you want for the world 1,000 years from now, right? So it's 30-20. What does the world look like? And then what are you doing about it now is your mission. That's more tangible. It's more measurable. It's still big. It's a North Star. It's out there, but it's not as cosmic. It's not as ideal. It's more, this is every day we wake up and move toward this. So our vision at MyCore reads this: it's all people in everything we do lead with who. So it's kind of Dr. Seuss-ish.
Right.
It's within that sentence is the phrase that is the blueprint and the framework and the goalpost, if you will, for everything we do at MyCore. It's to lead with who. That I think most people go into business, into life, and they think about the what's of their life. And we're programmed this way because our parents ask us, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? That's a silly question. You can't be a what. You can only be a who, right?
Right, exactly.
I try to teach my kids, I want them to be kind. I want them to be loving. I want them to, be inspired. And then if that turns out that they're a nurse or a lawyer, or they work, in the grocery store, it doesn't matter per se, as long as they're fulfilled in who they are and why they exist, and then what they do. So the who factor is really kind of the vision is who do you want the world to be? The state of the world is your vision. And then your mission is your why. It's really your crusade. It's what motivates you. It's what drives you forward. And as I mentioned earlier, when I just shared a little tidbit about MyCore, our mission is to be the world's most employee-centric company. And even those first two words are really intentional, to be or not to be, right? That we want to be the world's most employee-centric company. And we want to inspire that in our clients as well. So we combine that vision and that mission, and we look out and say, okay, we want to live in a world where people are considered first, before profits, before metrics, before politics, before policy. And then MyCore, we want to revolutionize the world of work and make it so that people wake up inspired to go to work, even if it's from their bedroom to their home office.
That's awesome. I love that idea. And I want to say something. So a couple of days ago, I listened to a podcast, and it turned my stomach. It really did, because it was a guy who was talking about marketing. And generally, the podcast is about marketing and how you market your business. But this time he brought on an agency, and the agency talked about how they found that when they were doing these things that brought that was a bigger package, it was $2,000 a month, and it brought in a lot of money, except that the profit was not there. So now they don't offer that anymore. They offer this package that's a lot less and gives their clients a lot less, but they get a bigger cut of the pie. And he went on and on about it, and it made me sick to my stomach for that very reason, because if that's the way you're thinking, if you're thinking, how do I get to my bottom line, as opposed to what am I offering my customers, then you're missing a point there. Why be in business if that's why you're in business? Just for money. There are other ways to do it. So I love that that's your mission and your vision.
Money. Money's easy. I think that's part of the problem people don't realize is one, we live in America. It's one of the easiest places to make money. There's
Right.
people will spend money on ridiculous things. The goal shouldn't be money. The goal should be fulfillment. Happiness, it's a broad word, but if you wake up every day inspired and charged, and it doesn't mean you wake up like, there's look, I maybe Cheryl
Cheryl and Tommy from Logo Zone.
But it's
Yeah,
a
that's right.
commitment. When it's in the fabric of who you are, when it's rooted in your identity, you'll wake up feeling like I'm just being who I am. Right. I mean, think of you, Anne, like this isn't a task for you. This is an extension of who you are and who you've been far before you had this platform and are building this platform. And people can feel whether it's organic or whether it's a package that they're looking to get a profit margin on. So if you're looking to build a transactional business and a transactional life, you'll probably make a lot of money. I just don't know how happy you'll be when it comes to fruition.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. So if you are watching this, and there are several people watching this right now, so that's really good. Leave us a comment. Have you written out your mission and your vision? Do you have it written out for your company? And if so, share it with us. We'd love to hear about it, because I think most of us know what we want, but maybe we haven't all written it down. It takes a lot of effort to do that. Do you have a tip before we move on? Do you have a tip for how to do that best?
Yeah, I was actually just thinking as you were saying that, I would just say, be prepared that it's really freaking hard to do, and that's okay. And the reason why, I won't go too far into it, but it's emotional. And the limbic system, the part of our makeup, part of our brain specifically that controls our emotions and our feelings and our hopes and our dreams, doesn't have the capacity for language. So when you try to put these things into words, it never does it justice. So do your best, but it has to evoke emotion, and it has to be something that it doesn't just look good on a plaque or on a website. It's really about whether it can be translated emotionally from you to your circle, right? So that's what we've done at MyCore, is that the group of individuals that make up our team, we live and breathe this, and we're not perfect by any stretch. We get into arguments with ourselves. There's times when we lead with what, and not who. But I would just say, try to feel it out and not think it out. It's definitely an emotional thing. It's not a logical thing.
That's great advice. Thank you. Just so you know, I have a Great Dane in the background, so I'm probably going to throw it to you quickly here. He is being very loud. He's not approving of the bicyclists in the neighborhood today. So, all right. So I like this. You talk about employee experience and customer experience, and how the two are related. So can you expand a little bit on that?
For sure. Yeah, this was a pivotal part of our development. We're coming up on 4.5 years of being in business, and it was probably about 2 years ago that this really came to light for me. And in technology, there's UX, UI. Every company kind of looks through that lens and says, okay, what's our user experience? What's our user interface? And we leverage and synthesize some amazing technology. So we're kind of abreast to that, but it's not the core of who we are or what we do. But I wanted to coin something that same way and kind of take ownership of it. And that's what we call EXCX, or as it's written there, employee experience, customer experience, or client experience. And the simple idea there is that most businesses focus on the client experience, the customer experience. And that EXCX relationship is so important, because if they're not focusing first on the employee experience, if that team that makes up that company isn't waking up charged and ready to, innovate and to advance, then the client or the customer is eventually going to feel that. And I think so many companies get this wrong. They don't invest enough energy. They don't invest enough time. They don't invest enough money into the employee experience. And they look at people like they're disposable. And just saying you like your employees or you care about your employees isn't enough. It has to be a real strategy. It has to be a real intention. And when you think in this order, this syntax, this sequence matters, because your team will know when dealing with a client if they're going to be protected, or as we call it, shielded up. And we've had this happen where clients have been unhappy with us, right? We're not perfect. And we've lost clients over the years. Now our retention's great, but as we were iterating, there was things that got messy and okay. And to my knowledge, and maybe Cheryl can attest to this, I don't think the person at MyCore, the MyCore employee, the MyCore team member ever felt like they were at risk, assuming that they were ethical and did everything, to the highest standard. So this relationship's really important, because if you're not building a space where people want to come work and bring their best ability, it can't be about getting a paycheck. That has to be an afterthought. It has to be about where they're going to live their best damn life, and if your workplace is that space, it's amazing how much further people will go and how much more they'll stretch themselves. And the client will feel that, for better or for worse. So we're not by any stretch, but I think that it's very present at our company that we care first and foremost about our employees. And that's not just at MyCore. Our solutions inspire that, because if payroll's a mess, then you're not showing your employees that you took the time to get their paycheck right, their pay correct, because you're so busy cutting lawns, you're so busy building websites, you're so busy on the client, because they're the ones that pay the bills. But without the team, you don't have the client, and you don't have that ecosystem that's being built. So it really isn't just MyCore's employee experience, it's the client. Our employee experience is the client experience. So everything that we build for ourselves is what we actually give to our client in the form of our subscription. So it's this really beautiful alignment that we have.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It occurs to me, last week we had Sean Heritage on, and he's from Authenticate, but he was a captain in the Navy. And he talked about working for an admiral one time in a really important, over at NSA, in a really, really important position. And he said there were times he'd come home and he would go, "Oh my God, I screwed up so bad. I don't know what's going to happen. I messed up. It was such a big mistake. What's going to happen?" And he was so worried. And he said that this was an unusual thing to have happen in the Navy, for his admiral to say this. But his admiral said, "It's okay as long as you mess up differently next time, fail differently next time," right? And I think if you can have that attitude with your employees, it makes all the difference. So they don't worry. They're like, okay, if I make a mistake, it's not going to be the end of the world. So I do think that makes a difference.
Yeah, and it comes down to how well you qualify. A lot of times what I think happens is people are so happy to find somebody that are willing to work at their company, or that are willing to participate in their product, that they don't qualify the candidate, they don't qualify the prospect. And this is, again, kind of part of that combination is the same way you wouldn't just give anybody a paycheck, because that's a big investment of your money. You shouldn't just take on any client. We qualify our prospects. We're very selective about who we allow to be a client of MyCore, because we're building a community. We're building an ecosystem of early adopters. We can't dilute that space, because we need raving fans. We need people that are willing to work with us as we improve and we iterate. And I think what happens is a lot of times people don't consider who they're bringing on board, both EX and CX, both employee or client. And it's what ends up jamming them up. So the reason they fail is because they succeeded. They went out and got that first group of clients, and they're the things that they're the client, they're the who's, the people that stop them from being able to scale the business, because they're so busy dealing with poor attitudes or misaligned people. And I think that's a really important lens to put things through too. So I would just say be aware of it. And if you're looking for people that need what you have, I think your focus is on the wrong thing. We don't look for people that need what MyCore provides. Every business and nonprofit between 1 and 100 employees needs it. We're looking for people that align with who we are and why we exist.
Absolutely. And we have found, and you've probably found the same thing, if you have a client that's taken up all your time, if you have a client that you cringe when they call,
fire
and
them.
you let it, well, and when you fire them, what we have found is we end up with 3 new clients almost immediately. And I don't know what it is. It's like the universe is thanking you. They're like, yes, that client needed to be gone. So we're going to give you 3 to show you how good that was. So we find that for sure. While we're on the same subject, while we're on the customer experience and the employee experience, I want to talk about something that Cheryl brought to me probably 2.5 years ago, and she said, we do this really cool thing where within the company, we focus on a book. And I'm looking at the books that are sitting on your mantle there, and it reminded me of that. So tell me a little bit about how you do that and why you do it, why it started, and what benefits you found from it.
Totally. I'll toss this over to you, Cheryl, to start. I don't mind adding to it, but Cheryl leads this within our company every week. So she's really the hostess with the mostest for our hard talk, as it's called. So Cheryl, why don't you take that away?
Right. Awesome. Yeah, it's one of my absolute favorite things about MyCore is that when Nathan started this company, it was a philosophy of his if you work harder on yourself than you do your business, then your business will just fall into line. And starting January of 2017, we don't call it a book club because that's not what it is at all. But we started to read books within our company. We've now read 20 books. We read a chapter every single week and have a weekly 30-minute call where we discuss it. And we call it hard talk. Success is pretty easy. If you think about many of us entrepreneurs that have been able to very easily work from home, this isn't hard, but it's actually pretty easy. But what's easy to do is also easy not to do, which then makes it hard. So these books really help us grow as a company, personally, professionally, and in a leadership way. And I'm in love with it. Nathan let me run Hard Talk in the last year, and it's just been incredible. The books we focus on are books that we really need as to where our company is in the moment. So we've read greats like How to Win Friends and Influence People, Simon Sinek's Start With Why, Be Obsessed or Be Average by Grant Cardone, which many of you know I have a tattoo of our brand, and that was the book that inspired me to do it because I'm definitely obsessed, not average. Currently, we're reading The Power of Habit. We've read The Energy Bus and The Go-Giver because we believe, like you said earlier, and like Zig Ziglar says, if you help many people get what they want, you'll inevitably have what you want. So come from contribution. So these books really help inspire. And when you have a company, we have 20 plus employees, all of us growing together is just making us know each other more, discuss these hard topics. We get into debates and we cry and we're transparent and we share on these hard talks. So it's not just a book club. We actually bring our own opinions to the call weekly and dissect and realize and learn how others read and took away what their takeaway was. So it's awesome. It's my favorite part of the week, hard talk.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I love that you're reading The Power of Habit because it's actually, I just finished it. So I'm right there with you. I love that. So it looked like you were looking around. There it is.
Yeah, there it is.
Well, sleep through it last night.
These are all my books.
Yeah.
I don't do audiobooks. I love having the actual books. And I actually write in them, when we read them, what book they were in hard talk. And this was the book, Crazy Tattoo. So I wrote that in. It's just, I love having the reference. Love it.
Right. That is awesome. And I
could share how he was inspired.
I was sitting here wondering whether I can talk my team into the same thing. So I do a lot of I am the one that does the reading, and then I come in and say, hey, so I've just read this and here, right? But I wonder it might be fun to do it that way. All right, so let's talk about well, first of all, actually, before we start that, I want to say you said you started this 4.5 years ago, and you started in Maryland, but now where are you? Because it's not just Maryland anymore.
I'm in Baltimore. Cheryl's in Annapolis, but we have a great team in Minneapolis. We have a team growing in St. Louis. We have a great employee in Savannah, Georgia. And we have clients in several states. So we've been cloud-based and remote, paperless, technologically based and advanced and savvy essentially from day one. I mean, really, we got it like dialed in a couple of years ago, but that was always the roadmap. That was always the focus. So yeah, if you're touching paper, like, what are you doing? And I won't speak for other parts of the business, but like, if you're touching paper at all in any of the categories that I mentioned, payroll, benefits, HR, 401k, bookkeeping, accounting, and taxes, you need to come talk to us because And it's not about, I mean, I'll hug a tree or two. I'm not talking about that. The environment's important. It's about efficiency.
Right.
It's about
Right.
access. It's about that small business is a game of, it's not inches, it's a game of centimeters. You have such little moments of time to be effective. And if you're working in your business and working on your business, because you don't have an entire department dedicated to that. You don't have an entire team of personnel dedicated to this, because you're a small business. By definition, you're wearing multiple hats. So the access points have to be really tight. And what will happen, and I've seen this happen so many times, and it's so unfortunate, is that somebody that's really good at a thing, maybe like I mentioned earlier, they're a great landscaper, they're a great web developer, they're a great photographer, whatever their business, the what of their business, they turn it into a business, right? They bring on clients, they start to hire a team. And then they get so bogged down working on their business that they stop working in it, and they stop doing the things that made them successful in the first place: networking, lead generation, business development, the things that really expand or innovate, or they don't come up with a 2.0 version of their solution. And this is kind of known in small business, but I think there's a little bit of a caveat that's important to focus on. And it's not that person is bogged down and they're like, oh, it's so hard and it's stress and I can't get off my shoulders. That a lot of times it's depicted that way. It's actually the opposite. What happens is that the key personnel, the key team members, they actually get satisfaction out of doing those things, because they get into a habit, right? It becomes a habit, and they create a cue for it, and then a routine for it, and a reward for it. So all of a sudden the cue is, oh, it's Wednesday, I have to run payroll. So the cue is the payroll. The routine is the 3 hours they spend on it. And the reward is, oh, my employees got paid and I get to check that task off my box. And then they get a hit of dopamine. They feel like the endorphin of getting something done was successful. And there's a big difference between being busy and being productive. If you're not doing MMA, not mixed martial arts, although it will feel like that sometimes, money making activity all the time, you have to be fighting, wrestling, grappling to get you and your team to money making activity. And that's where I think we come in and shine best, is we help companies get back to that money making activity. Right.
Well, and and part of that is what you said. You said innovation. We think that innovation is just going to happen. And one of the things that it may just happen, and the way it just happens is through thinking, through thought time, through taking the time to think about things. But if you're doing your HR, you're doing your payroll, and you're doing all your bookkeeping, and you're doing all of those things, you're focused on something here. And I'm going to go back to a mom thing. When we went through the worst parts of our life, I actually did a video, and I'm going to tell you, you guys can find it on YouTube. It's still out there. I didn't take it down. And it says, F you depression, right? And because I was so fed up. And what I said is that I effing hate, and I used the word, and this is me, but I effing hate coping skills. This is what I said. And then I found knitting. And I realized what had happened is I started knitting, and I couldn't think about the 1,000 things that I had to do, or the 1,000 worries that I had. I focused on the knitting, and other things came to me. So now these days I find knitting, or I will sit here literally and sit at my desk and doodle or color, specifically with the idea that I'm going to let go of my brain so that innovative thought can come in. But I have to schedule it. Otherwise it doesn't happen. You have to schedule the time to let your brain go so you can come up with something new for the money-making activity in your business.
You're spot on. Yeah, it's something that has to be intentional. You hear these kind of stories of, yeah, I was doing this or doing that, and just the light bulb thing. That sounds nice, but that's not how it works. It comes with a lot of sleepless nights. It comes with a lot of scheduled time. I can't tell you how many times I've been doing one thing, and then I thought of a thing, and then I stopped doing, like literally I go work out because I've maybe put my phone down, I'm working out, and then I'm like, oh, And then I have to make a decision. Am I going to finish the workout, or am I going to go back to my phone and jot that down or call that person? And for years, I've chose the latter. So yeah, creative energy is no joke. You know, you want to be a person that is a doer, and that's all you are. That's okay. You know, I come from a family of doers. Some of the hardest workers I've ever met. They call me Slicky Boy Nelson in my family. I'm one of 9 children, 6 boys, 2 girls. My dad's rough and tough. You know, it's like I could rebuild an engine with the lube that's in your hair. I'm like, okay. I said, but I have to work really hard here. And I think what happens is there's 2 types of people. There's doers and there's thinkers. And on rare occasion, you find people that are both doers and thinkers. And when you are willing to do the nitty gritty grunt work and you grind it out and you're willing to think while you do it, then you're getting the hard work and the smart work working together. And you know, it's not to go on a tangent, but I think it does tie back into this topic here, because you used to be able to implement an idea, and the expiration date of that idea was much longer, because there just wasn't as much access to information. Things didn't flood as quickly or change as quickly. Now you have to be on your toes, because your great idea could be obsolete in a week from now.
Right.
And not just because a lot of times technology gets that reputation, gets that connotation. It could be political. It could be CrossFit is dead. One tweet, one ignorant tweet.
Actually, you know, can we talk about that real quick? Because I saw CrossFit is dead, and then I missed what the tweet was. Can you tell me what the tweet was? I don't even want to
say it, but yeah. So but here's the thing, right? Cheryl said this earlier. Success is easy. Mm-hmm. It's easy to do this podcast. I'm not over here sweating, digging ditches. You know, I just have to talk to you. It's easy to pick up a phone and call a prospect. It's easy to read this book as a team. It's also easy not to do.
That's right.
That's the difference between success and failure. So if you've read The Slight Edge or you read The Compound Effect, you know this school of thought. So what's easy to do is easy not to do. It's just whether you're willing to do it compounded over time. So what happens is this tweet seems like it was done in one moment, but that's a lifetime of thinking. That's a lifetime of attitude. That's a lifetime of filter to put one tweet out that ruins your business. So it seems like this death spiral, but no, that took a lifetime to think that way, because anyone in their right mind or right heart would not write that. And I feel a little bit bad, because I don't know the person. I don't know that they're a hating racist. You know what I mean? I don't know that that's the case. But you got to be wise, because he essentially made a comment combining the death of George Floyd and COVID-19. So I think his tweet said something along the lines of like Floyd-19, I think was like the tweet, which was obviously wildly inappropriate. Here's the thing. All of us say dumb things.
Right.
I put my foot in my mouth weekly. If I said something that was off color, that was, you know, distasteful, I think my team would forgive me and say, hey, you're an idiot, but we're gonna figure this one out together.
Right.
So the reason why people are disaffiliating with him, I think is the word, or part, is probably some other issues that they had. If I'm a CrossFit gym owner, I probably had some issues with CrossFit corporate, and I was just looking for a reason that everybody would accept my departure. So I always look at that and think, okay, there's no way that one moment is what caused everything, right? Like this moment in history we're having is not siloed to one police brutality. It's generations and years. You know what I mean? It's something that's led up to.
It's funny. I woke up thinking about that this morning, and I don't know why it popped into my head, but yes, it is. I think part of it is that I keep saying, but there's going to be one more, and there'll be one more, and there's always going to be one more. And why do I think that? I was thinking, am I just that negative? And then I realized, no. I mean, if you go back to the 3 deaths in Mississippi of the civil rights workers who went down there and they died, and it was the police, right? That's what it, or at least somebody connected with the police. And at that point, so we're talking about the 60s to today that this thing has still continued to go on. So it is a long-term thing. So it's interesting that you said that this is long-term thinking for everybody, one way or the other.
Yeah, and you need a catalyst. You need something to really spark. Just like if you turn your engine, the spark plug has to get the rest of the machine working, right? The match has to light the forest fire. But there's always a underlying nature to it. And I think to kind of bring it back to our conversation, I'm certainly not qualified to speak on these topics, but I think that if you're not nimble as a business and your entire company can't be operated from the palm of your hand, then you're just behind. It doesn't mean you're like gonna fail, because here's the thing: the core parts of the business, the relationship building, the referrals, the clients, that stuff's core. You're fine. You're not gonna fail. I'm not gonna come with doom and gloom and be like, if you don't have, you're touching paper, you're gonna fail. I'm not one of these young millennials that think that. I'm actually pretty old school in most of my ways. But it's actually, I'm so committed to the who factor that this needs to just take care of your business in seconds so that you can get back to leading people. You can get back to networking. You can get back to developing your product.
Well, and I think it's great. I think putting all the things that you guys do on your phone is great. But also, we did see that the people who were able to pivot and say, hey, you can buy our products online. Hey, you can buy our services online. Those are the ones who are doing okay right now. The other ones are the ones who are struggling. So, yes, you want to put all of the services that you have available on there for them, but you also want to put everything else, as much else as you can get on your phone on there as possible. So I do want to talk about one element that I think you guys have, you talk, and I was going to call you Anastasia, Cheryl. Cheryl, you talk about the wet signature and the fact that you don't need them in most cases. I mean, title, you still need it. Real estate, you still need it. But most cases you don't. So tell us how you do that. What if you had to say, everybody else, go out right now, do this. What that one part, the signature part, how do you get it done?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my ear pods ran out of juice. Anyway, John Maggio is probably watching now, laughs all the time when I say we don't need wet signatures. But this is a pretty important thing. We pride ourselves of being very high touch, but when you have a pandemic and can't be, it was brilliant in the first week of the quarantine for Nathan to be on a call with the team. And these were his exact words. Okay, business as usual. And it was in that moment that I thought, holy moly, we built this ark. Who knew that we would be able to float when the world changed, that we couldn't do what we pride ourselves on, which is being high touch. But we're still high touch. So we didn't need to meet with clients to sign them up and have them. So a wet signature means that you actually use a pen, a wet ink pen, and sign papers. Many companies need wet signatures. Insurance was that way, where you have to, meet with people and get their signature. We have developed, and Nathan and our Chief People Officer, Heather Coleman, at MyCore, have done a phenomenal job. Just really, as Nate said, playing in an infinite game. Simon Sinek wrote a book that we did read that talks about that. You have to see your company way far away, way far. You can't play a finite game if you want your business to go on forever. And Nathan is the best visionary officer I've ever seen in my life. He doesn't technically call himself that, but he is, where he has just always been able to stay in that infinite space and say, what if, let's reach, let's change, let's move. And they created an e-commerce site for service on our website, which is crazy. So our prospects, if they are interested in our business, can actually go right online and drop service, payroll, benefits, HR, taxes, bookkeeping, accounting, 401k into a shopping cart and check right out from there. And then we have Heather Bott, who is our AI.
Heatherbot.
We have artificial intelligence, Heatherbot. She's really cute, long brown hair, adorable. And what she does is she helps a business owner stay as connected as they want to be. Those are a lot of individual fragmented, usually silos, payroll, benefits, HR, and we brought these together. And as a business owner, you'll get emails from the companies and the people that we use, or our Heatherbot actually takes all the information that you need and condenses it into one easy to use email, because a lot of times you don't need to make phone calls and talk to people and interrupt their day. Information can be shared, and we've just brought it all together in that way. So I love MyCore, you know I do, but a lot of it is because of how Nathan can just think so far ahead. And as he said, every problem that we have ever come across as a business and company of our own, he did his homework, he solved the problem, and then we brought it to market.
That's awesome. I love the idea that you can do this. And I love what I think is that every website company right now should be bursting at the seams. I think every website company should be bursting at the seams, because everybody should find a way to bring their company online. We're a service industry and everything we do is online. I mean, I know we're a digital marketing agency, but our sales process is online. Every single step of the way, it's online. And everybody should do that. Whether if you have a brick and mortar place, you still need to have a store online where people can shop. You need to have solutions for going down the road. So that visionary part of it is so very important. Yeah. So, all right, before we move on, I want to tell, first of all, before I tell people, this is where they're going to find you. They're going to find you at leadwithmycore.com. But before we talk about how else they can find you and anything else, Cheryl, I would like you, when you get off the call with us today, please go into the comments and leave a list of the last 5 books that you think we should all read. The ones that you've read that you think we should all read. I'd like people to see those. I think it's important. I'll put them in the show notes because we have show notes now. It's so funny that we've been doing this for 8 weeks and we're each week developing something new as to what we offer. But we'll have show notes. We'll have a list of the books for you, and we'll cover that. And we'll also tell you how to get in touch with you guys there. But Cheryl, how else can they get in touch with you personally? Because you're the one they're going to talk to, right?
Yes, my title at MyCore is Head of Business Development. So I love to share our message. I've been on this journey with Nate since day one officially. He talks about all the years that it got to get to day one, but since day one. And so I love to share our message and bring business in, and then we have a phenomenal team that comes in and takes over from there. So you can find me on Facebook at Cheryl Cage, LinkedIn at Cheryl Cage. I'm on Instagram, and just reach out to me. My phone number is there. My email is cheryl.cage@leadwithmycore. That's up on the screen.com. And I would love just to have a 20-minute conversation with you. The website is very transparent, very easy to see. Pricing's there. No hidden anything, no startup. I mean, we've really done the deal and put the time in to make sure that it is extremely user friendly.
Right. And Nathan, you have any final words before we go?
Just thank you for having us. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's a delight. You know, the last several months I've been here in my home office and working from here, so it's nice to kind of feel like I'm kind of getting out and into the ether, if you will, and your network, your ecosystem. And kudos to you. I think it's awesome what you're doing. And I would just share this in a final thought. If you're a business owner, you know, you're an entrepreneur, you're in that space, and chances are you are if you're listening. Work harder. Don't make an excuse. You just kind of alluded to it in a second ago, Ann, because you said, you know, we're learning things as we go, like the
right.
Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Do the thing, and you'll have the power." This is the secret sauce. So many people, they want to have the power first. They want to get funded by the bank. They want to have their website ready. They want to have the right team. They want to make sure that the the resources are in place, and then they'll start their business. Then they'll go for their dream. Oh, it just doesn't work that way. You do the thing, you just do it, and then you have the power, right? When I look at MyCore today, who we are, why we exist, and what we do, it came out of a meeting that I was in on January 19th, 2016 in Annapolis, Maryland, and it was just a little seed. And then I just kept watering it and going for it and germinating it and iterating it, and and at times not even iterating, just trashing it and starting all over again, and lots of ridicule, lots of hardship. I showered right before this, so you can't see it as well, but just gray hair. I mean, Cheryl has a picture of me from 4 years. It looks like when the president finishes their term, how much they've aged.
Right.
So I would just encourage everyone to do the thing, and you'll have the power. And if we can be part of that, awesome. But we want to champion, you and your vision and your mission. And if it turns out that our solutions are good for you, great. If not, that's not the important part. What we do with the product.
And I know you know that about Cheryl, but it's absolutely the way Cheryl is. She does not come out there to hard sell anybody. She's out there to see how she can help you, whether it's through her products that she's offering or by introducing you to somebody else in the community, and that seems to be the way MyCore works. I like that.
Totally. And I'll just finish with that. Cheryl, you should just know Cheryl. Like, if you don't know Cheryl, you're missing out on a hub of resources. Cheryl, I used to call her, I said, wow, you're really a social butterfly. I learned that she was a social pterodactyl. I mean, she will come in to the networking space. So she's one of the most well-networked people I've ever met. And she's way more of a go-giver than a go-getter. Thanks for having us, Anne. I love it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you. Actually, let me tell everybody what we got coming up tomorrow too. And then hang on the line before we hang up. So, all right. So I said tomorrow, but it's actually Wednesday. We're going to have Nahid Oberfeld. I'll be back tomorrow, but I'm working on something special, and I want to make sure that I've got it all together before we go live tomorrow. So I'll tell you about that a little bit later. But Wednesday we'll have Nahid Oberfeld. She's going to come on and talk about what happens when you get stuck. You're in business, you want to move forward, and then you go, why am I stuck on this one place? So we're going to talk about that. I want to remind you to subscribe on YouTube, please. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers over there, but also subscribe to our podcast. We've had over 300 downloads over there, actually almost 400 downloads over there in just the past couple of weeks. So we're getting there. We're going to build that one up. And then a reminder that if you have questions about your digital marketing, reach out to asmmdigital.com and we can help you out. Thank you guys so much for coming on. This was really, really great. I've enjoyed it so much. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.